Before my experience at Rendlesham, I did not believe in UFOs, did not believe in that type of phenomena, would try to debunk anything I ever heard about that. I thought anybody that would believe in such stuff was either whacked out, crazy, or delirious. But all that changed after entering the forest that night. It was December 1980. It was the height of the Cold War, and I was assigned to the twin bases that were called RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge, England. And in between those two bases was Rendlesham Forest.
It was almost a perfect storm of what makes a UFO case compelling. Multiple witnesses were military personnel, the UFO was tracked on radar, this was a landing, not lights in the sky, and all of this is backed up not just by the say-so of the witnesses, but by the government file itself.
The night of the incident, we were working a midnight shift. Everything started out normally. Matter of fact, it was rather mundane. In the middle of getting my first cup of coffee there, I get a call from Central Security Control, CSC. They said I need to respond to the East Gate. Once arriving at the East Gate, I met with Staff Sergeant Steffens. He was the senior law enforcement patrolman. And I said, "What's going on, bud?" And he seemed shook and he seemed upset. He took his finger and he started pointing over toward Rendlesham Forest. And so I looked over there and I says, "What is that?" You know, I could see some light, like a bubble light over the canopy of the forest. In the darker part of the forest toward the ground, you could see multiple color lights going on and off. While we're in the middle of that conversation, Sergeant Coffey, the senior controller, comes back. He says, "Be advised," he said, "I just checked London radar, Eastern radar, and Bentwaters radar. And we lost contact with a bogey, some type of craft, 15 minutes ago. So we had confirmation of a possible aircraft crash." Buzz says, "No, it didn't crash, Jim." He said, "It landed." As we approach the forest edge, I have Airman Kamanzak behind me about 150 feet. He's the entry control point. I have Airman Burrows 25 to 30 feet over here to my right. Normally, you would hear wind through the trees. There was no sound at all. Actually, it was eerily quiet. So I couldn't hear, forest animals. I couldn't even hear my feet on the forest floor, which had debris on it. I started feeling static electricity on my face and my skin. My movements were labored. Comparison for that would be like walking through a pool of water waist high. I look over to my right, for about 15 feet around is like a wall of light. As we approach the forest edge, I'm starting to see a formation of a craft, triangular in shape. I have the feeling as well, this cannot be in any Jane's book of aircraft. It's not an aircraft that was designed by anything on this planet. My emotions were all over the place. They're running from the gamut from being scared to in awe. I got my camera, I pop it out. I shot as much film as I could. I started looking underneath the craft. I thought it was curious. I was wondering, how is this sitting above the forest floor? And when I looked underneath it, I could see nothing but light on it, like white light. There was 3 indentions in the ground, triangular. They were probably an inch and a half deep. Somehow this light created those indentions. I thought, well, maybe it's still mobile or it can move. And I thought I could push the craft to see if it, if you had a car out there, for example, you could push it on the side and you would move, a half inch or inch. This was solid. The skin of the craft, it was completely smooth. There was no riveting, like black glass. It was shiny. When I was touching it, it was warm to touch. I later find out it had radiation. I got a glimpse on the side of the craft. It looked like writing. I'm thinking, oh, great. It's going to say NASA or Soviet Union. As I get closer to it, it's not writing, but more pictorial glyphs drawn on it. They measured about 3 feet wide by 5 inches high. And then on top of those pictorial glyphs, they had a larger glyph that was a triangular one with a bigger circle around it. I was just completely baffled. None of it's making sense. I can't rationalize it. It's nothing like I've ever seen before or even today. This craft with radiation expelled all the film on my camera. The craft starts generating more whitish blue light, and I see the craft start going up, and it goes up to the canopy of the forest, and it's just sort of momentarily hovers there, and then makes a right turn, and in a blink of an eye, it's gone. When it took off, it didn't have no air displacement, it had no sound, it had no sonic boom, none of those, it was void of those two. One of the thoughts I never released in it, not even in the book, is I thought that there was a strong possibility the craft was organic. The craft skin itself was metal and all that, but it seems organic. Even the look of it seems organic because of the structure of the craft itself. From their perspective, it was definitely non-hostile. Freely let me walk around, examine it, allowed me to take notes, allows me to touch it, it allows me to have an exchange with it. I think its intentions was to communicate. That's why it was there.